I'm Mike Anderson. I'm part of the ISU Glassblowing Club, ISU Gaffers Guild. I'll be doing a demonstration today about how to make the pickup tongs that we use to put our glass pieces into the annealers. And I'll actually be doing two different demonstrations here. One to show if I've got a pre-drilled hole in a pair of tongs, and then what to do if you have a pair of tongs that don't have a pre-drilled hole. These are just normal tongs to use for like barbecue or in your food service. So then this is 18-ounce fiberglass cloth that I've already got folded up. And then this is actually a lighter weight fiberglass cloth. It's Bondo. You can buy it at Walmart, Target, whatever. And so, but basically the heavier the weight cloth, the longer it'll last. This is 8 square feet. It's pretty light fiberglass cloth, but it works just fine for the pickup tongs. First thing to do is go ahead and unfold it, and then you want to try and get it centered, because then we're going to be going ahead and cutting it in half so we've got the two sides. I'm going ahead and just kind of creasing it so that it will be real visible where to cut it. And it doesn't have to be perfectly cut. It doesn't hurt to have it cut as well as you can. Because if you're not perfectly straight, you will have a lot of little stringer threads that want to fall off. So just try and pull loose what you can easily. Dress up the other edges as well, just to get the loose stuff. Normally when you purchase it, only one of the sides will actually have reinforced thread down it. You want the interior to be able to slide down, and then you want the overall length to be twice what you're going to have double down so that you can grab the wire around. So you want a little bit past it. Another thing about using a paperweight on the edge like this is it puts a real nice crease in the fiberglass cloth, where it'll stay a little bit easier on its own. And then both of the edges have been folded in so that when it's folded over, there won't be loose stringers coming out, loose threads coming out. So I've already folded this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently work these down so that the teeth don't catch on the fiberglass cloth until I've got it approximately halfway down, and then I'll fold it over where the actual head of the tongs starts to thread out, is about here. So we're going to want to cinch it in right in this area so that it won't slide up and down. Now, you could put a little piece of wire through both sides, or you could just try and wrap the whole thing around, but it's going to be less likely to slip if you put the wire through the fiberglass cloth. And as you're poking the wire through, you can feel the pressure of the wire coming through once it starts working its way through. So then that can kind of be a guide, so you can move your finger out of the way so it doesn't get pinched or poked by the wire.
So you come close to this on either side of the metal.
As close as I can, yeah.
And then go towards the outside.
Yeah, because that way it minimizes how much metal there is potential to come in contact with the glass. So as you're tightening it down, you can feel the pressure in the metal and everything. And so you, like I said, you really don't want to tighten it down too much because then it'll probably break. Sometimes you can see that you got a little bit more room that you can go. That is what a pair without a hole in the tongs. Nice and tight, but you can see even though I got it as close as I could, that will slide up and down some. So that's why I drilled the holes through the ones that I normally make. Sometimes I misjudge on the folding and I'll actually have it a little bit too tight for the pair of tongs to go. So then I have to unfold it and start over. So since on the other side I had it too far out, I'm going to try and bring this in a little bit closer. So it's still got a little bit of wiggle room to this side, but not near as much as this side. If you don't have a pair of tongs with a hole drilled through, so it's a little looser, a little bit more metal that could come in contact with the glass, you do need a hardened steel bit to be able to drill through these. Already folded this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to gently work these down so that the teeth don't catch on the fiberglass cloth until I've got it approximately halfway down, and then I'll fold it over, and then I kind of scooch it over to one side so the majority of the material is to one side. And then I take a piece of 18 gauge steel wire and I'll sight down the side and look for my pre-drilled hole, which in this case is approximately 1.5 inches down, and I'll come out to the outside of the fiberglass cloth and try and poke this right through that hole. Sometimes you gotta fish for it a little. And then I need to work this all the way through all the layers of fiberglass cloth, and that can be pretty involved sometimes. So you basically have to wiggle it back and forth, and sometimes the wire will bend and you have to straighten it out. But the benefit of having a pre-drilled hole is it really holds the material in place a lot better than if you just simply wrap it around the outside. If I were to accidentally put the wire through this side, then these would be flopping around.
There's a side that has more folds and a side that has fewer folds. You twist the wire on the side that has more folds.
Right. And part of the reason that I drilled the hole through it is because there's a lot less metal that your glass could potentially come in contact with this way. If you just wrap it around the outside like we'll be doing with the other pair, if you've got a larger piece and it comes in contact with the metal, it can really cool it enough where it causes a little crack to start or something. And then I just kind of pull that cloth back so that I can tighten this down really, really good. And when it starts coming in contact with the cloth, then you're getting pretty close to what you want in the way of twist, because if you over twist, then it will actually break. And then I just cut off everything except for a little bit, and then that should hold it really, really well. And so then I'll do the same thing on the other side here. So one thing I have to do is I have to make sure that I line it up correctly so that after I've folded it, that my folds are facing the same direction. Okay, so you can see how one side's got a little bit more in the way of fold to it than the other side. The main reason that I try and match them up the other way is so that my wires are on the same side. Since this has got wires on both sides, then it doesn't matter. Pickup tongs, to use them correctly, you want your glass to be cool enough so that when you grab it with the pickup tongs, then it doesn't mash your piece. So if you choose to go outside the piece, you want it to be cool enough so that when you grab together, it doesn't squish the piece. Or if you choose to go inside and outside, you don't want the lip of the piece to be so hot that it'll flatten out a spot. You never want to put the pickup tongs in water, because if they are placed in water, it takes them forever to dry, and then the next person that goes to use these will have water come in contact with their piece, and that will cost them their piece. You also never want to torch your glass, the bottom of the paperweight or whatever, while you're holding it with the tongs, because if the torch comes in contact with the fiberglass cloth, it'll instantly melt it, and that'll start the deterioration process a lot more swiftly than if just regular use. Or I've actually seen people try and pick up glass off the floor with them. That can be really bad, because then you get glass fragments and crud in there, which will then contaminate somebody else's piece. So as I said, you could probably easily put 1,000 pieces away with these without having to replace them if they're used properly.